Hello everyone, how are you? Hope you are okay. This is David Muniz from Senha Segura, and I'd like to welcome you all to our first live, How Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Help Addressing Cybersecurity Risks. I am David Muniz. I've been working for Senha Segura for the last 5 to 6 years. I'll be six later this year. And I now work in the marketing team, and I have here with me, I'm not alone, I have here with me Guilherme Goulart, who is part of the product team. And well, thank you, Guilherme, for being part of this session. And I'll hand over the word to you to present yourself.
Thank you, David. So I'm Guilherme. I have been working for the product team for 3 years now, and today I was invited to talk about the artificial intelligence, and we have been working also on some initiatives to improve how Senha Segura and technologies can be integrated to artificial intelligence, and that's the exactly thing we are going to talk here today. Provoke you guys a little bit and see how artificial intelligence can help and also how it can be harm for some companies. And thank you for the invite, David.
So I think the first thing that I'd like to cover here is the definitions. We hear about artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, but do we know the difference? Do you know the difference between all of those three? So I think the first aspect that I like to cover during this session is the difference between each one of those. So the first one is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, as the name says, is the science of making computers solve tasks that usually require human intelligence. So, and AI usually behaves like a human being. Um, at the same time, and this is also, of course, used to solve business problems. Machine learning, on the other hand, is a part of AI, and it's pretty much most of the tasks that are associated with artificial intelligence are actually machine learning. It's actually algorithms that assist people in the learning process so that machine can learn by the experience, by patterns. So when we see, for example, ants going together, and they usually try to open paths. So that's what machine learning does. The algorithm tries to find a pattern in which one of those actions. Deep learning, on the other hand, is a subset of machine learning. So those algorithms are based on artificial neural networks. And this is not something new. This is in the industry for a while. So at least for the last 10 to 20 years, we've been hearing about deep learning. Now that we cover all of those definitions, I'd like to bring I would like to provoke you to talk about ChatGPT. And now I ask you, Guilherme, have you ever used ChatGPT? What do you think of the tool?
Yes, I have used that. I had to wait a little bit because everyone is using that, and the company behind ChatGPT has posed a line, so people that want to use, it's open for everyone to use. So, but since everyone is using, you have to wait a little bit. But yeah, I got the chance to use that, and it's pretty cool actually. ChatGPT is a real example of how artificial intelligence should be, and a big example of machine learning, because that's one thing that we call routine. So you put your artificial intelligence to work, to be exposed, and it has to learn from that. You define which is good, which isn't, which is the right behavior, and which isn't. And the cool thing about ChatGPT is that the artificial intelligence is exposed to the market, and there is no right or wrong. It does what is asked to be done. And that's why people can get a lot of answers for ChatGPT, because if you ask anything that it is not supposed to answer, the artificial intelligence doesn't know that. It just answers right away. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I think a lot of companies can make a good use of it, But one of the things that I would like to talk here is that it can be also you know be used for nature's purpose and to cause harm maybe.
So, and 71% believe that foreign states are likely to be already using this kind of technology for malicious purposes. And well, at least for me, this is just a matter of time where attackers will use this kind of tool to perform their cyber attacks.
Yeah, and
What do you think?
because yeah, there is no barriers like it's a software that is open for everyone, so anyone could use it. It's not just limited to specialists from IT tech world. And as I said in my example, if the solution fix a code for you, it doesn't know if the code is for a ransomware or for any other purpose. So the chat GPT doesn't really know if it's good or not. So yeah, I could be writing a code to chat GPT and it could be a hamster, for example, for instance, and it wouldn't know. But yeah, I bet people are already using that for other purpose than it was made to.
Yeah, at least for me, I think one of the main challenges in cybersecurity is how to properly detect and respond to a cyber attack. There are some reports, the 2022 data breach investigations report say that it takes around 277 days to identify and to respond to a cyber attack. So I think artificial intelligence and machine learning offer a precious help into detecting and responding to cyber attack. And talking about this, it's a great reflection that we do here because we no longer talk about, well, before we had companies protecting the security perimeter. So we had firewalls, we had antivirus. So we believe that everything was safe inside this perimeter. Now that we're talking about internal frauds, social engineering, insiders, there's no perimeter anymore, and that's exactly what zero trust comes. So everything, according to zero trust, everything and everyone pose a potential threat to the environment, and this is how it evolved to zero trust based models. And machine learning comes and artificial intelligence come to properly identify exactly what the user is doing.
Yeah, uh, just like zero trust, artificial intelligence become a widely used word in the tech. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, is it what we think? So we see a lot of solutions and products there saying they make use of artificial intelligence, and honestly, it makes it sounds fancier, but we need to define what artificial intelligence really is. Because you have, for example, playbooks and automations, and people think that any action made by a software or by a predetermined code is artificial intelligence, but it's not. Artificial intelligence is when the code, your software learns from it. So I think we have to be careful about what we say with it, which is artificial intelligence, and this is pretty important when we talk about security, information security, because maybe we have some kind of rules before login, as example, but that's what we call adaptive authentication. That's not artificial intelligence. In that case, artificial intelligence would learn from the login from the user, if it's coming from another location in the world, if it's access from another IP, and then give those users kind of alert, like, hey, be careful, this users represents threat, then just block the access or things like that. So machine learning is really different from predetermined rules.
I agree with you. I think, well, I think zero trust artificial intelligence, machine learning, they're all buzzwords that marketing teams are exploring today to sell their products. And I totally agree with you that we need to be really careful because, well, uh, the basic the base of machine learning and artificial intelligence is to learn from the pattern of the user. So it really depends on how the user behaves to build a baseline for behavior. So that's exactly when we talk about adaptive approach to authentication. Let's say, for example, that a user, I am usually here in Sao Paulo, and I authenticate every day at 10 o'clock in the morning. So usually, well, theoretically, the system should not ask for lots of barriers, lots of authentication processes. It should be enough to provide username and password, because the context that I'm inserted tells the system that this is not this is a potential safe access. There's no there's the chance of threat is really low. So when we have this adapted approach to authenticate the user, it allows for contextual anomalies and also reduce false positive, and of course improve user experience. Because let's say that I'm configured to provide username, password, and MFA challenge. If I usually do that every day from the same IP, from the same machine, with the same at the same time, the system, for example, can take out the MFA, just provide the usual username and password. And
Yeah,
that's what we come to.
one
Go
of the
ahead,
things
Guilherme.
that you talked about, David, is the false positives. Those are really worrying when we talk about machine learning or any automation, because usually the automation takes answers like yes or no and conditions. So let's suppose you're not accessing from your machine as usual, and it is automation, not machine learning, and it just blocks you from the system. You know, administrator made that decision, and you're no longer can access your application anymore. But let's suppose now we are talking about machine learning. um, the machine learning can also block you, the artificial intelligence can block you from accessing it from the, because you are not accessing from the same machine. But the difference is, the people behind this artificial intelligence, they would tell you, no, David actually was a right person to log in the application, and you blocked him, but it wasn't right. And then it given conditions and rules and parameters that the machine learning, the artificial intelligence should use, and they apply it to the routine of the machine learning, and that way it you happen to learn in itself. So the next time you'll not be blocked. But these are really long processes, so it's likely to happen a lot of false positives. And when we are adopting a system of machine learning or artificial intelligence, and this can be risky, especially when we talk about infrastructure applications, or any kind of EAs or PaaS that they do support some critical systems for companies. So let's just suppose that you have a service account identity being used, and the machine learning does block it from access a database, for instance, and it would make your software or your website stop working correctly, because the service account that is running inside wouldn't, or the function, we can talk about Lambda, for example, wouldn't be able to access database, and it calls you a lot. You can lose money when it talks about business talking. You could lose a lot of money because of it wouldn't be available for the final user. That's what we call
Yeah,
actually automated and guided remediation as well. Sorry, you can go.
no, no, it's okay. This is a good topic of, that we've mentioned about automated remediation. But But before that, you said something interesting about the whitelists and blacklists to what the user should or should not do. But we've seen this changing, just not only on white and black. We'd also see gray lists. So instead of just blocking the user to have access, we can do additional actions. So let's say, for example, that the user is performing an access from an unknown location. Instead of just blocking the access, we can insert, for example, an MFA challenge. We can limit what the user can do. Let's say, for example, no critical actions can be done through this login. They only can, I don't know, see reports. So this is also another paradigm that has been changing over time. And now, and also taking the what is said about service account, can why we need to protect service accounts. I think it's a good provocation to do here.
Sure. So service accounts, this have been changing with DevOps, but service accounts they used and they still are used to give access from any software that you create or even just a code to access cloud providers, an example, or any other application that needs to be connected to your final solution. So let's suppose I have a software and this software needs to access a database. So I need a service account in that database. Let's suppose a user and a password, but it's not service account, okay? But service account also needs authentication. So that's what we call keys. And some people do hard code those keys into the software, and this is not good. Like this is against what we call secure development, but we need to do protect the service accounts because they are widely used from integrate systems. And and use, even when we talk API REST, you need some authentication on those, and mostly the service accounts are used like in cloud providers or any other solution that needs to be integrated. So when we talk about systems, the service accounts are the most critical asset to be protected. When we talk about human identity, then we need to secure the user. But I think the main difference here is that the user is not being used inside a software development to access other systems and give information, but the service account is. And it is also important to know that user has more secured parameters than the service account itself. So you of course have some options to secure an access to a service account, but not as you have for users. For users, we have MFA, we have TOTP, we have fingerprint and things like that. And this is not available for service accounts. Of course, you can kind of connect both and try to apply the same parameters to service accounts, but they work essentially different. And I think it would give more, properly work to make it functional. But that's why I believe we need to secure the security accounts. Here now with the DevOps, the we are using secrets instead, and it kind of solves the problem. But still, I would say that the DevOps have been on the market a while now, but it's still some companies make the old use of service accounts, and it's just the SaaS and on-premises thematics is the same problem. It's about adoption.
Well, no wonder why those credentials are also called keys to the kingdom, right?
Yes.
Well, probably if a service account is breached, they probably can do, well, the attacker can do quite some harm in the environment. And I think one disadvantage of using service accounts, well, it's because usually the security team, they do not monitor what the actions that are done through those privileged accounts. So in most of data breaches are performed from privileged accounts. So there's some studies that range for 60% to 84%. So most data breaches are performed through those kinds of credentials, and it's important to protect them. because this reduces quite some cybersecurity risks in the environment. Now, bringing that, well, no, and no wonder why Gartner has elected PAM as a number one project for 2 years in a row. Now, bringing this aspect into artificial intelligence and machine learning, well, bringing those analytics into PAM can define what is normal and build this user baseline across the organizations. So, and let's say, for example, and you brought the um, the fact that with the automated remediation, and this is a good conversation to have. This is a good topic to have here. We see many security solutions using automated remediation. Are you pro or against this practice? And could you tell us more about automated remediation?
Could I be neutral? Because I think that having everything automated, it's like paradise for anyone that works with IT or security, because you would need to worry less. It would be less work, and you could focus on what is really critical.
Mhm.
But again, it would be a drain. But the thing is that again, we could have the false positives happening, because let's suppose you're trying to access your any platform you use, like LinkedIn, for example, and you never access LinkedIn on your machine, and then you're blocked. But why are you being blocked? Just because you never used that? So uh, I then it gives an alert for the admin that takes care of your machine, saying, "Hey, David, try to use LinkedIn. Check it down." The probably the administrator would be like, "Oh, I need to do that. Could you just verify if David is who he says he is, and give him access to the LinkedIn?" And but no, it usually doesn't happen that way. The administrator, you need to verify and give you access, the permission to access LinkedIn. But yeah, so guided remediation could also give your website kind of an availability, so you could lose access to websites if the automation remediated defines that this is not good. So I think we are kind of far from the point where everything can be automated, so we have a robot take care of everything without worrying about a false positive, because the human action is still needed. Probably not as before, because now what the machine can do is verify and alert. We are evolving to the point where the machine, the artificial intelligence, you'll be able to take decisions, but not business decisions, as an example, because there are several facts and points to be um, verified by humans before taking a decision about business. Let's suppose you have artificial intelligence to take care of investment. So you give that artificial intelligence a lot of information about what do you want to buy for your company, and the robot take the decision. But there are other several aspects that you needed to verify that a machine cannot. You would probably regret that decision, because you need a human brain thinking about that. So I think we are kind of far from that, to having everything made by the machine, trusted 100%, just like the automatic driving we have seen so far in cars. Would you trust your life on a car that could, you know, can't drive alone by itself, and see how things goes? And it's also about environment and context. So maybe we could have an artificial intelligence take care of things that are basic and systematic things that happens every day. But what if you have the artificial intelligence to take care of things that just happens occasionally and always different from what it was before? it's the same with the automatic driving. Probably it works good on a neighborhood that the streets are all alike with good conditions. But if we go with that car to a different city, to to a place there that there's the streets is not well made? Would it be safe? Would you trust that decision that the cars made? So I think we could make a comparison with that and see that not everything can be done by the machines yet, and they still need us.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, well, even though we have quite evolved in the artificial intelligence and machine learning, we can already do a lot with them. I think it's too early to remove totally the human aspect in this field. And you brought an excellent example with the autonomous driving. I think I also agree with you. If we're talking on a green path, on a road, a paved road with good sign, I think the car might work. But I would not trust. I would not be in a car totally with no driving, with me just sitting on a passenger car. Would you?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
I would be in the driver's seat, but I would be um, um, attentive to what is going on. So I think I think we are and I think some car manufacturers have changed the autonomous driving to semi-autonomous driving. So it still requires some action from the driver. And now just going through, we've talked about um, multi-factor, we talk about authentication, and biometrics is also another a safer way, but it's still not risky free. We've During our research we found a famous case of a German hacker that was able to recreate the fingerprint of the German Ministry of Defense. And it's interesting because we were also talking about that the attackers are always one step ahead of us, and also applies to, I think it also applies to machine learning. They are a step further, and they use machine learning and artificial intelligence also to perform their malicious activities.
Yeah, the fingerprint is pretty interesting thing to talk about because it's an yes or no. So if you have the fingerprint, so you can go. If you don't, you can't. And then we think how artificial intelligence could help us with that. So the thing is, artificial intelligence would help us with later. So let's suppose I use my fingerprint and I can authenticate, but it wasn't me. Maybe I could had a 3D printer did my fingerprint using silicone, and then someone used my fingerprint. That's really possible and have been done several times already. I know real case of that, and uh, that way fingerprint is bypassed. But some people still consider it to be a really reliable source of authentication. But what artificial intelligence could help us with that is the after process. So after authenticated with my fingerprint, how can I be sure if that's real Guilherme and not someone that used a 3D fingerprint with silicone to have his fingerprint? You can actually you could give what we call conditional access. So I would be a valid user, but I would need to authentication more ways. So maybe AMFE, um, let's see, biometrics as well.
Biometrics.
Yeah, biometrics, and probably reduce my privilege on the system or the places my fingerprint was used, and say, hey, this is not a reliable source anymore. So fingerprint, you'll be blocked for Guilherme. There was a case that fingerprint was hacked in 2014. It was several years ago, and it was already bypassed method of authentication. I don't know about you, but uh, fingerprint is kind of the hype. So it's a lot of what we see in movies. Like, you have secured and you have a door that is only opened by your fingerprint or your entire hand, but it can be bypassed. So we need to be aware of the real dangers that we have in the market, and people that are attacking instead of being just amazed by a new technology. ChatGPT is a new technology, and we are amazed by that. But do we have, protections forms from ChatGPT? Can we be protected of it? Have you ever heard ways of protecting from artificial intelligence? I don't think people are thinking about that, but it does need to be thinking.
Well, biometric, we need to remember that biometric is not only about fingerprint. We can also have the behavior of the user is something also that is biometric. And let's say, for example, with combining AI to create this adaptive authentication, allows the analysis of how the user entered the password, how are the keystrokes that are, if the keystrokes match the user pattern, and then the solution can decide, for example, if another form of authentication is required or not. And now I want to talk about our keystroke dynamic identity feature. Senha Segura has a feature that uses artificial intelligence, it uses machine learning to understand the pattern of the user when they are typing. So we build this baseline of behavior, and if the user, let's say that someone potentially malicious tries to reproduce this pattern, the solution will block, and or of course any other additional action. They can notify an administrator, they can send a message to CM, to syslog. So we have this set of ways to verify if the user is who they is. And of course, we have the risk score. We can build this risk score depending on the different aspects that we evaluated, and this score can be generated in real time. So we can, and the more the user uses the tool, the more exact the algorithm behaves.
Yes, Sega Secure as a pen vendor can make multiple uses of a artificial intelligence. The main one is the one that you just said. So how we verify that the person access is who he thinks he is. So he's saying he is. And if it's fit normal or not, which can reduce the workload for IT security teams. But we can go a little more further than the user behavior itself and talk about machine behavior, since we have the service accounts and even other. So the Chris Turkey is a really good example as well. So maybe the solution is detecting that this is not David, he's not typing, he always do. Maybe something is wrong. Let me protect this login way more than it is. Or we can even analytics powered by artificial intelligence is a good use for pen vendors like Senha Segura. So instead of just bringing what is in the login or monitoring solutions like CM, you could go further. You could actually relate informations from different reports to bring you sites about a user or a usage of any other solution that you have in your infrastructure.
Yeah, I also think that all of those analytics can be integrated with a pen solution with AI-driven insights that are accessible from the dashboard. And the SOC team can use this information generated by AI and machine learning to generate reports for audit, for example, and investigation as well. Let's not forget that data privacy regulation require administrators to detect, to inform data privacy authority about any data breach. So this is really important, and they also take that into account when setting up fines. If a company does not take the actions to detect, to respond, probably need to have a higher fine than a company that is engaged into detecting and solving this, even though they have suffered a data breach. We're heading out to the end of our life, and I'd like to wrap up the ideas that we've seen so far during this session. Would you like to start, Guilherme?
Sure. I think the first one we could say is that artificial intelligence is evolving really quick, and we need to be ready for its use in a way that we need to be secured about how artificial intelligence works. The main reason is for helping us, but it can be used for other purposes, as we have discussed here. So, yeah, make a good use of artificial intelligence. Use that. It can help you in several, process that you have inside your company. But don't rely on just artificial intelligence. You need the human brain to take decisions most of the time. I think this is the first thing that I would to like to bring here to the final. But also another one that I think it's special to talk about is about that adaptive application. It is not new, but it's still a really misunderstood concept when we talk about playbooks or automations that can be done on a logging page. And when you have a conditional access, how artificial intelligence could help you with that. There's also another kind of that thing I would like to provoke people to think after this live.
I totally agree with you. I think artificial intelligence, machine learning, their use in some, if not most areas, is too early for us to say how this is going and how this is going to evolve. And talking about cybersecurity, I think the main challenge here is to detect anomalies before it happens. So to set up a predict, prevent, and protect philosophy. And this is done by exactly the way you said, by adaptive access. Let's not just have gray, white lists and black lists. Let's have contextual, adaptive. Let's set up different decisions from different users, how the user is doing. Let's evaluate the maximum data. And I think artificial intelligence is good at analyzing data and finding up a potential malicious action. And totally agree with you, Guilherme. With that, I think we are almost running out of time. So I'd like to thank everyone for watching our live and hope to see you next time. And I'd like to thank Guilherme again for the precious insight, for this precious conversation. And hopefully we'll have more during this year. Thank you very
Certainly.
much, Guilherme.
You're welcome.